Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and former FBI Director James Comey has crawled out of his hole to make some predictions. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. James Comey appeared on News Nation, and he was asked a variety of questions. Of course, he's been doing the rounds the past couple days, calling Trump a threat to democracy and saying we have to reelect Joe Biden, as if anybody's waiting for James Comey's endorsement, as if people are on the fence going, gosh, I wonder who James Comey is going to tell me to vote for. So he's on News Nation, and they ask his opinion about the hush money trial in New York. And he admits that when he first looked at it, he's like, he wouldn't have brought that case. Now, you have to keep in mind that the federal government decided not to bring this case. It's a federal elections issue. This is not a state of New York issue. It's a federal elections issue. So you have to understand that the feds decided not to bring this case. Alvin Bragg himself originally decided not to bring this case. And then somehow they were able to manipulate what is a misdemeanor past the statute of limitations into a Class E felony, the lowest form of felony, by the way, in the state of New York, or New York City. So James Comey offered his predictions on the case and what he thinks is going to happen, what he thinks is likely to happen. I want you to know I disagree with him, but I want you to hear it. Let's take a look.
Let me switch topics for a moment. If you had been the Manhattan DA, you were a former top prosecutor in New York, not the Manhattan DA, but in another role, would you have brought the hush money case?
I wasn't sure that I would have when I read the indictment, but now having seen the case, I'm not sure after investigating it how they wouldn't bring it. They had a much stronger case than I imagined, and they'd be taking a pass on it because of who the defendant was, and that's something you don't ever want to do as a prosecutor.
But what about the fact that the feds, including the Biden DOJ, took a pass on it? And you would think that particularly when it comes to the election piece of this, that is typically something that would be tried in a federal court.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, and so I really don't know. There could be all kinds of reasons that I can't see internal to the Department of Justice.
What do you think is going to happen? I can't imagine there'll be anything but a hung jury, but that's just my...
Actually, I have a different take. I think there's an overwhelming chance of a conviction, a significant but much smaller chance of a hung jury, and zero chance of an acquittal.
Why?
Why zero chance of a...
No. Why do you think there's more of a chance of a conviction than a hung jury?
Because they built a very strong circumstantial case. They built a building out of a series of bricks that really couldn't be crossed because they were documents, they were texts, they were the words of the defendant before they went to their cooperator at the end. I bet they even debated whether they needed to call Cohen as a cooperator. And that circumstantial case, at least in my experience, having tried a lot of cases, is very, very powerful with the jury.
But it seems to me that this is a different kind of case, right? That the typical legal analysis that I end up doing on typical cases doesn't apply here. That the questions that jurors maybe aren't supposed to be evaluating, like, are we really here over a payout to a porn star with the former president of the United States, who's now the Republican nominee, sitting here? This is what this is all about. I think that may factor into some of the jurors' thinking, even though that's not what the judge is going to instruct them.
Yeah, maybe, but my gut tells me, and I've had a lot of experience, that they'll be impressed with the way in which the prosecution connected it to broader themes, to an election, to the Trump's need, according to the proof, to suppress information, to conceal it from the voters. That kind of stuff rings loud, I think, in the minds of public-spirited citizens. And when you're on a jury, public spirit just flows through you. So that's why I think it's more likely than not to be a conviction.
In 2021, you wrote in your book that you did not think that Biden should pursue federal prosecution of Donald Trump. You said no matter how compelling the roadmap or how powerful the evidence strewn across his history of porn stars and financial fraud. Later, you actually suggested Biden should consider pardoning him. Do you stand by that?
I don't feel that way now because that was before January the 6th or the Mar-a-Lago case. I don't know how you don't pursue those cases. But I was attracted then, and honestly still am, to the idea that wouldn't it be good if we could get this demagogue off of center stage? I read a piece by a former CIA counterinsurgency person who said the first thing in sort of deprogramming a cult is get the programmer to the corner so you can then let people escape the fog of lies. it would be a whole lot better if we weren't seeing Donald Trump, even in the Manhattan case, on our screens every day.
It must be odd being James Comey. I'm listening to you say this and thinking, oh, the right is going to, be infuriated by what James Comey's saying right now. And then I think about how many people on the left are furious at James Comey about reopening the Hillary Clinton investigation 11 days before the election. They believe that you handed the election to Donald Trump. Do you feel like a man without a country?
I don't, for a couple of reasons. First, I don't care that much what the ends of our bell curve think. They're in such bubbles that each thinks I'm on the other team's side. I think there's a whole swath of people in the middle who've taken the time to understand the way in which the FBI conducts itself, who feel pretty good about it. And apart from that, my family loves me, and I feel good about the decisions I made.